What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another March Madness preview video. Today I'm going to be talking about 13 potential first round upsets that could happen over the next couple of days. Now, these aren't necessarily upset picks that I have in my bracket. Some of these I went with the higher seed, but think that the lower seed might have a chance at pulling something off, at pulling off an upset. And I'll talk about what could go into each upset for each team, and hopefully it'll give you a little insight heading into these matchups, which will maybe make them more enjoyable to watch, and maybe it'll help you fill out your bracket in case you were stuck on a couple of different games. Today is the last day to join our $20 bracket pool. Let me know if you want to join that. DM me on Twitter, link in the description box below. And also, you should join our free bracket pool. We got a link down there as well. Definitely go and join that. We're going to do something for the winner, at least a shout out, if not something a little bit more. So go join our free bracket pool if you haven't already. Now, with that being said, let's jump into these 13 potential first round upsets. For these matchups, I am not doing 8 versus 9 seeds or 7 versus 10 seeds because those are pretty much toss-ups every year. Those don't really count as upsets to me. So these are all going to be teams seeded 11th or lower. The first potential upset matchup I have is Arkansas versus Vermont. Arkansas is a really good defensive team. They've had a good year in the SEC, but for whatever reason, the SEC is the one conference that I'm fading this year. There's always a conference every year that seems to get into the tournament and then underachieve, or maybe they were overrated coming into the NCAA tournament, and I feel like that could be the SEC this year. But this isn't a potential upset pick because of anything wrong with Arkansas. They got JT Notre, a good lead guard, and then they got Jalen Williams, a guy who's kind of popped a little bit this year and has become a fringe second round draft pick, so they do have some talent. They play some defense, but I really like Vermont. Vermont is one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. Arkansas is not. They really struggle from behind the arc. And when looking for potential upsets in March, I like to look at a potential shooting discrepancy between the lower seed and the higher seed, because this could end up being a game in which Vermont is knocking down threes and Arkansas isn't. Now, Arkansas is the more athletic team, the more skilled team, a bigger team, so they should have the advantage on the interior, but the three-point line is the great equalizer, and I think it could work out well in Vermont's favor in this game. This is definitely a potential upset. The next matchup I have for a potential upset is Alabama taking on whichever one of these teams wins in the first four. Now, we don't know who it's not going to be yet, so I'm not going to talk too much about Notre Dame or Rutgers. I don't think either of these teams should have been in the tournament, and we'll find out who wins this first four matchup later today. But Alabama is a very streaky team. They have some of the best wins in the nation. They beat Gonzaga, but they have a lot of suspect losses as well, and the reason for that is they chuck up a ton of threes. They live and die by the three-point shot. They almost shoot as many threes as they do twos, and they don't shoot too well from the three-point line. They shot 31% on the season. So this is a team that could come into the first round chucking up a bunch of threes. That's what they try and do, and missing a bunch of threes because that's also kind of what they do. They've been able to have some great wins because those are games in which they just knock down the three-point shot, but more often than not, this team has struggled to actually make threes. So whichever team wins this first four game, I think has a good matchup here against Alabama. The next matchup I have is Texas Tech versus Montana State. And I trust Texas Tech as a team. I think they will end up winning this game. However, in my bracket pool, which rewards upsets, I'm bordering on going with Montana State because I like to pick a 14 seed every year. I like to mix it up. I like to root for a 14 seed every year, so I like to pick them in my bracket. I'm not a huge fan of a couple of the 14 seeds this year, but Montana State is a good offensive team, and when you're going up against a Texas Tech team that knows how to defend, one of the best defensive teams in the country, you have to have a diverse offense. You have to have an offense that's able to put points on the board in a number of ways in order to deal with that stifling defense from the Texas Tech Red Raiders. And Montana State has a little bit of pop in their offense. There always seems to be a good defensive team that everybody thinks will have success in the first couple of rounds in the tournament that then falters because they're not able to knock down shots, and the other team, for whatever reason, is able to get solid shots against their stifling defense. And I feel like just kind of one of those random games might be this one with Montana State taking on Texas Tech. Texas Tech is the 64th ranked offense in the country by by Ken Palm metrics. So I think this potential upset is just going to come down to, can Montana State score the ball against Texas Tech? If they can, then they have a legitimate chance at upsetting them, and I think there is a chance that they're going to be able to have some offensive success. It could end up where Texas Tech, with their #1 ranked Ken Palm defense, just ends up shutting down Montana State for this entire game, but I wouldn't rule out a close matchup here. The next matchup I have is Houston taking on UAB. This is my favorite 12/5 seed upset. UAB has the star guard that a lot of Cinderella teams seem to need in March Madness. That's Jordan Walker. He dropped 40 points in UAB's triple overtime win in the Conference USA Championship against Middle Tennessee. So they got the star guard. Dude is phenomenal, shoots off the dribble, just is not afraid of the moment at all. And then Houston is a weird team. Metrics like them, but they don't have a single quality win all year long. UAB ranks really well in Ken Palm for a 12 seed. They're the 47th ranked team in the country, above the likes of Providence, Notre Dame, Creighton. They're also not as bad of a defensive team as a lot of 12 and 13 seeds are in this year's NCAA tournament. So a team that can play good enough defense and then has a star guard, can score the ball, is coming off an exhilarating conference championship win. I just have good vibes about UAB being able to take care of Houston in this one. This is my favorite 12/5 upset. The next game I have is Illinois taking on Chattanooga. This is a game I've gone back and forth on in terms of who I think will win this game. Chattanooga is a big team for a mid-major 12 or 13 seed. A lot of these mid-major 12 or 13 seeds, you get undersized teams that play 4 out or even 5 out and shoot the ball. Chattanooga has a couple of very solid big men. The only holdup here for Chattanooga is, Cockburn is a major presence on the interior. Chattanooga is not going to have a physicality advantage. So this game might honestly come down to if Kofi Cockburn gets in foul trouble or not. If he ends up in any sort of foul trouble, Chattanooga, I think, is going to win this game. It'll be interesting to see former top high school prospect Silvio De Sousa go up against Cockburn. That's a fun matchup. Jean Baptiste, after hitting that game winner to even get Chattanooga to this point, is one of their lead guards. And then they have a star in Malachi Smith. So Chattanooga does have a star guard that can kind of get things done for them. They do have size on the interior to match up with Cockburn. It's just going to be interesting to see who establishes the advantage there on the interior. I think whichever team does that wins that game, and it could be Chattanooga. The next matchup I have as a potential upset is Colorado State or Michigan. A lot of people are questioning Michigan even being in the NCAA tournament. Their resume was definitely questionable, but I think Michigan got a good first round matchup here against Colorado State. Colorado State is led by star David Roddy, a 6'5", 6'6"-ish, 250-pound perimeter player who can handle the ball, he can pass, he can shoot, has decent athleticism for his size, but Colorado State is an undersized team. Michigan has a ton of size. They got Hunter Dickinson, Musa Diabate, Caleb Houston at the 3 has some solid size. So I think their size might give Colorado State some fits. I think David Roddy might struggle to go up against Michigan's length, and I think that size advantage could easily end up with Michigan winning this game. Michigan does have a lot of talent. They were starting to play better basketball, and then Juwan Howard decided he wanted to punch/slap a dude in the face. I don't even know what that was, but that kind of threw a wrench in their team late in the season. So honestly, Michigan might be a sleeper team to go even further than this, just due to the talent they have. They were rated as a preseason top 10 team for a reason, and I think they got a really good matchup here in the first round against Colorado State. Next matchup I have is Villanova against Delaware. I don't trust Villanova. Delaware struggles with bigger physical teams, but I don't think Villanova is that. They have some solid players, some solid forwards, but they don't really have a dominant big man that I would trust. Colin Gillespie is obviously the guy that makes everything go there for Villanova, and he won them the Big East Championship with a couple clutch threes. And Villanova has kind of changed the stigma around them after winning those 2 championships. Before that, they were a team that got upset pretty often pretty early with Jay Wright as coach. So maybe they fully exercised those demons, and that's never going to happen again, but I got a weird vibe about this one. Delaware is led by Jameer Nelson's son, Jameer Nelson Jr. They also have a redshirt freshman, Providence transfer in Jair Davis, a guy who's playing better later on in the season. So you got a couple notable players there for Delaware. And if you really want to pick a 15 seed over a 2 seed, this might be the game to do it, because I don't trust Villanova in the following round, especially if they end up going up against Loyola Chicago. I have had Villanova losing in the second round to Loyola Chicago. So I honestly said screw it in my bracket, and I changed this pick around to Delaware just because it's always fun to root for a 15 seed, and it's really rewarding when you pick the 15 seed right. I had that happen last year. I picked Oral Roberts over Ohio State, a 15-2 upset last year, and it was very satisfying to have that happen. So it's not satisfying to pick a 2 over a 15, even if the 2 ends up winning. Everybody picks 2s over 15s. So if you can pick that 15 seed right, especially if it's just kind of random like this might seem, then it's rewarding. So Delaware over Villanova, maybe an upset pick in your bracket, because I don't trust Villanova to really make a deep run in this tournament. The next matchup that I have is Providence against South Dakota. This is my favorite 13-4 upset. I don't trust Providence. They were the luckiest team in college basketball according to KenPom. They avoided some difficult games in conference en route to a conference regular season championship, and then they got waxed by 30 against Seton Hall in the conference tournament. I don't trust Providence whatsoever. South Dakota State is legit. They had the most efficient offense in college basketball according to effective field goal percentage. They have a really, really solid and sound backcourt, and they also got some solid size on the interior. This is just a well-rounded 13 seed, one of the most well-rounded 13 seeds I've seen, and I don't think Providence is that good. I don't think they're the quality of a 4 seed. KenPom actually had them rated as the 48th best team in the country, below the likes of Iowa State, who's an 11, Marquette, who's a 9 seed, and UAB, who's a 12 seed. For reference, South Dakota State came in at 69th ranked. So these teams are as evenly matched, in my opinion, as you'll ever find a 4 versus 13 matchup to be, and I trust South Dakota State to end up getting things done here. The next matchup I have is LSU versus Iowa State, which this is going to be an ugly game. LSU recently fired their coach, Will Wade. It wasn't due to performance issues, it was due to other things where I'm not even going to get into them, but they're going to be playing with a new head coach. Iowa State, on the other hand, is just a weird team. They have 9 quality wins, but they're 9-9 over their last 18 games, and this is a team that struggles to score the ball. So LSU defensively has some talent. I think they'll be able to shut down Iowa State, but Iowa State's been able to beat some solid teams, so you can't rule them out in terms of upsetting LSU in this matchup, especially LSU with a brand new coach. I don't know what the heck this game is at this point, and that in those scenarios, the underseeded team has a chance to really make some noise in just kind of weird games that might not have a flow to them, that might be kind of wonky. I think in the end that ends up benefiting the lower seed. So Iowa State is definitely a potential upset candidate over LSU here. The next game that I have is Wisconsin taking on Colgate. Wisconsin, hopefully Johnny Davis is fully healthy. I'm not too sure that he is, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not gonna speculate. I just don't think Wisconsin is as talented as the other 3 seeds on the board. So this might be the best 14-3 seed upset to pick. This is a Colgate team that is playing in the NCAA tournament for the 3rd year in a row. They've won 19 out of their last 20 games. I think this game comes down to if Colgate can slow down Johnny Davis. If they're able to do that, they definitely have a chance. You don't want to let Brad Davison get going from 3. If Colgate can defend both those guys, they could definitely win this game. The next matchup is Auburn versus Jacksonville State. I don't trust Auburn. I don't really know too much about Jacksonville State, and I don't really trust Jacksonville State either. I just don't like Auburn. They're a team that struggles from 3, shot around 30% this season. They have shoddy guard play. Those are major red flags for me. I don't trust them. Jabari Smith at times will get frozen out of games due to his guards thinking that they're Steph Curry or Damian Lillard. I mean, Wendell Green. Watch this dude play. This dude can hit some amazing shots, and he can have some games where you're like, wow, this dude looks like an NBA player. And then he'll have some games where he just forces some terrible looks, has some terrible turnovers, and is just, you're wondering why this dude even plays for this team. So it's going to come down to, can Jabari Smith have good games to carry this team? Because I don't really trust the consistency of the other players on the court. They got some solid role players, but not anybody that I would trust to really carry the team offensively. So the key for Jacksonville State is, can you slow down Jabari Smith? If you can slow down Jabari Smith and not let Auburn get out in transition, then you have a chance to win this game. That'll be the key for Jacksonville State. The next game that I have is St. Mary's versus Indiana. St. Mary's, I think, would be a seed, maybe 2 seeds lower if they didn't beat Gonzaga at the end of their regular season. That was a game in which Gonzaga played by far the worst they've played all year. They looked like they were sleepwalking. Sure, give credit to St. Mary's for that, but that was a game where Gonzaga just was not ready to play. I don't think St. Mary's is... I don't trust them to really take care of business in this matchup against Indiana. St. Mary's is the 62nd ranked Ken Palm offense and the 9th ranked Ken Palm defense. They're ranked as the 17th best team in the country, but I think the WCC might be a little bit overvalued because San Francisco is sitting there at 21, and I don't think those teams should be that high. Indiana, on the other hand, is the 35th ranked Ken Palm team, the best 12 seed out of the bunch. And pretty much every year, a team that wins in the first 4 ends up winning in the first round. For whatever reason, being able to win in the first 4 gives you some sort of momentum heading into the first round. Indiana just took care of Wyoming. They're a team that played the Big Ten tough. They were very competitive down the stretch of the season. I trust Indiana to get this upset win over St. Mary's. It's going to be a very close game. I'd be shocked if it was a blowout either way, but Indiana is definitely a team to be reckoned with and a 12 seed to potentially pick in your bracket. The next game I have is Texas versus Virginia Tech. This might be my favorite upset pick of the tournament. Texas, okay, they got upset as a 3 seed last year. I had them going to the Final Four. That was the mistake I made in my bracket last year. I'm not going to make the mistake of picking Texas again. That's not going to happen for me. Virginia Tech is the hottest team maybe in the country heading into this tournament. They just beat Duke. They just blew out North Carolina. They just won the ACC tournament. They're playing the right basketball at the right time. Virginia Tech ranks 22nd in Ken Palm. Texas is ranked 15th. Virginia Tech has the 18th best offense in the country. They are able to shoot the ball. Hunter Couture is coming off a 31-point performance in the ACC championship, so he's shooting the ball well at the right time. Villanova is their star big man, 6'9" forward. Texas might have some trouble matching up against him. He is averaging 16 points per game. Those are definitely the 2 players to watch for Virginia Tech. They shoot 39% from 3. They're not as good defensively as they are offensively, but they're not a bad defensive team at all. And in the end, I don't trust Texas. They're a pretty well-rounded team, but they don't really have a star. They don't really have a guy that I think that they can rely on in crunch time. That's been a big issue when I've watched them this year. Their leading scorer is Timmy Allen at only 12 points per game. They struggle to shoot the 3 ball, 32% on the season. And their team has just given me weird vibes whenever I've watched them. I don't trust Texas at all. Virginia Tech is my favorite sleeper to make a deep run in this year's tournament, let alone just get a first-round upset. So this is definitely an upset to pick in your bracket, and I think more than 50% of people have picked Virginia Tech over Texas in this matchup. So Virginia Tech's a team to be reckoned with. So that was the final matchup that I had. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think of these potential first round upsets, and with that being said, I'm out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.